All right. It's a good morning and a good afternoon, depending on where you are. This is a Utilmate webinar around emails, SMS, and other correspondence, how to maintain it, how to bulk send it, and a few other subjects around in that area. If you have questions at any time, please feel free to type them in. We should see them at our end once they come through, and we'll answer them at the end. So feel free to fire them through. All right, so I will share my screen. So what we're going to start off with is a change or explaining a change we're making shortly. To date, you will have been maintaining all your templates, and by that I mean these things here. So currently when we send emails and we do PDFs for posted mail and also as attachments, we use these templates here. Right, so we use the HTML templates for the email itself, and then we use the docx or the Word document for the PDF attachment, or in the case of posted mail, for the posted mail. That's worked well for the last so many years as we've been doing it, but what we've found increasingly is that that we need to make some improvements in that area, mainly around the Microsoft Word side of things. Microsoft Word mail merging, which is what we do, is fairly basic in that you can only merge fields of a certain size, so you can't do anything too large. You also can't do anything conditional with any sort of if statements. You can't do any tables or complex data structures like that. So it basically means it limits itself or limits what you can do with them. So what we are doing is we are taking these templates, converting them all to HTML because it gives us that freedom to be a lot more creative in how they look and work. And we're putting them into the system, so we don't have to have external documents like this sitting around. So that's a change that some of you will have already seen. So if you're a relatively new customer with us, you will have been operating under that model since day one. Some of our existing customers will be converting you over to that way of doing things over the coming months. So the way it looks in the system, if I jump into the system here, is you might be familiar, we've got a letters, emails, and SMS maintenance screen. When you click on it under this model, you get a screen that looks like this. For those customers that are still on the old model with the external templates, your screen will look like this. So it's very similar, but similar sort of screen, but a little bit different. I'll take you through the new one. So you have two types of templates. Email templates, as the name suggests, are those that that's the email that the customer gets. And then if you scroll down as well, we also have PDF templates. So these are the ones that are going to get turned into a PDF for post or attachment to the email. Okay, so now when it comes to editing them, you'll see we have a new button here called Edit HTML Template. So previously the way you'd be editing these things is I would come into here, right? I can open up this template like this is one thing, so I can open it up and view it, but I can also then come into here and I can right click and edit it, right? And you might have different ways of editing it, different tools of doing it, but you can edit it like this as well. And what I've chosen here is Notepad++, but there are many sort of HTML editors to do it in, right? And that's editing the actual content itself. We've got customers that are quite happy to do it and quite capable and happy to play around the HTML like this, some not so much, but that's how you edit it at the moment. So going forward, let me just close that down. Okay, we now have an edit button. So if I click on edit, right, and in the pick list, these are all my templates I can edit. So what I'm going to have a play with today is just our invoice template. So I can just start typing. Here we go, invoice. So that is my invoice template. Now the first thing you can do is you can do it in the source or as what we call advanced or not. So I'm going to try it that way first. So I'm going to go yes and next. And what you see here is pretty much what I was showing you just a second ago when I was going edit with Notepad here. Right, so it's the same content that you can see here. It's now just sitting in the system rather than as an external file. So it might look a bit scary, but if you wanted to make a change to this, like you can do a lot of things around colors, the banners, look and feel. There's a whole bunch of things, but for most part, what people do is they want to edit the content itself or the words. So you can see in here in black text, It says, thank you for being a customer. Please find attached your latest invoice. And if I want to put something along the lines of, if you are having trouble paying, if I spell it right, something like that, right? So if we want to put some text in like that, it's as simple as just typing that text in there. If I go next, what we've allowed now is the chance to preview it. So I can save my change, but before I do that, I want to check to see what it looks like. So I can click on preview. And what you can see now, this is the new template, and you can see the text that I just put in if you're having trouble paying. Right, so I've just entered that in, and that's what it'll look like. So at a very simple level, you can add and change the wording in the body of the email here. That's very simple to do, but you can get a lot more creative in changing these boxes. It's pretty unlimited as to what you can do. And if you're not confident to do some of that stuff or struggling with it or whatever, then of course raise a support tick through to us, and we can help you out with that sort of more complicated stuff. So if I close this down and I want to go, I'll show you the other way now. So if I go back and back again, instead of editing the source, I say, look, I don't want to do that. I can select no and go next. Now what that gives me is allows me to edit it in these boxes. So you can see here I can edit things like this is where the logo is coming from. This is the banner. So if I wanted to change this, for example, to your, I'm going to make it your energy bill, something like that. Right, so I want to make it that. I can change the subject of the email, whatever. So I can change that. I can go next, and same thing, go preview. And you can see now it says your energy bill rather than your online bill. So very simple to do changes like that, right? So that's on the how you edit the HTML or edit your templates. If I close this down, right, and then once the last step is once you're happy that that change looks good, you save it. So just be aware, once you've saved it, it's a live template. So any invoices going, any emails going out are going to use that template, and that's what they're going to look like. We have a whole bunch of help around this. So again, all your help content is sitting under here under using Utilmate, but we've got some content here that Tracy's done up for us, which is great. So if you see here, you've got editing your HTML templates under maintenance. So we've got a whole subject here around it. So it explains around how you edit them, selecting them, and we also go into the detail of explaining some of the HTML itself. So as we scroll down here, it talks about that, but it also talks about the actual merge templates themselves. So I can click on that, and I can see, what the elements are and what it sort of does. So we've done a bit of a description around what the different parts of the HTML do and that sort of thing, and even getting down to the fields themselves. Right, so we can actually get down to the fields themselves, and there's a file here that you can see all the mail merge fields, all the fields available to the HTML. Equally, if I wanted to edit a PDF template, so if I go back to my edit HTML template, and this time I'm going to select, if I scroll down a bit, one of my PDF ones, right? So here's one. I'm going to do my first reminder notice. Yes, I'll edit the source. No, maybe not. I'll go, no, I'm not going to edit the source. Right, and in here, so we've got, so you can see the text, our records show we've not received payment, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of this, let's just say I want to say, Merry Christmas, just for fun, right? So I want to put something like that in there. I go next, same thing, I can preview it. And so this is one that's going to get turned into a PDF. So it's just that my page is maximized here, that it's sort of stretching across the page. But what you can see here is that's my text that I put in there, Merry Christmas, as you can see that there. So you can change these templates in exactly the same way. Right. Within that, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But within the tool here, there's, obviously I can change text. I can also change my colors. So, I can change the primary and secondary colors on my HTML. I can turn the Pay Now button on and off. I can turn the payment slip on and off. Right, so you've got an existing payment slip, you can turn that on and off. These are all the different, change my signature, change my footers, etc. So there's it allows you to change your HTML templates in a number of fairly simple ways. And then again, the advanced editing tool can be used for doing it in a more raw format. If you have an external marketing person or something like that, and you're welcome to copy these templates, give them to them, or give them access to the system, and they can go and edit them from within there as well. All right, so that was sort of the maintenance part of it. I'll come back to bulk send. The other part I just wanted to cover off was around getting email delivery, getting emails into inboxes, which is extremely important. Often if things go into junk mail or spam, then a lot of mail providers have 10-day auto delete rules and all sorts of things, so you don't really want to end up there. That's where you want to end up in the customer's inbox. So there's two ways we can ensure that happens. So first off is we have something called domain authentication, and we do this, and there's a help article sitting here. So again, if you go into your into your help option at the top here, type in SPF. We'll send through all these links after the webinar, so you'll have them all available. But this first step, simply putting this record here in your domain, is our simple form of domain authentication. It says emails coming from us are really from you, internet world. That's cool. So treat it as such. So that's sort of, I suppose, our loosest level of integration, and we have pretty good success rates around getting them into inboxes doing this. The next level is, and we have very, very high rates of getting into inboxes if you go to the next level, which is called sender authentication. So that was domain authentication. The next one is sender authentication, and in the background we use a provider called SendGrid, which is one of the largest global email providers. They send bajillions of emails per year around the world, so we use them as well. So they have this process here you can go through, and we can do a sender authentication, and essentially that involves we generate an email to your IT person, whoever that might be, has some links to click on. So you click on those links to verify that they've got it. You put a record in your domain, and there's a whole article here around the steps required to do it, and it creates what we call sender authentication. So it's an even tighter form of authentication and results in an even higher level of emails getting into inboxes, essentially. So either way with these, we definitely recommend doing this at a minimum. If you are finding that you go, look, we're still getting, if we're getting customers reporting junk mail or not getting the emails or whatever, something like that, then the next step definitely is to go to do this, and you just need to raise a support ticket, and give us the contact person for your IT guy or girl, and we'll just work through that with them. Doesn't take long, but it allows that sender authentication to happen. The last thing, I suppose, the two other things to good practice for getting emails into inboxes and good customer response rates is the actual HTML themselves. So we've spent a lot of time building this HTML, right? It didn't just sort of happen overnight, or it wasn't a quick thing to do. But all this HTML, all these templates, right, conform to these sort of some principles, and there's a good article here from HubSpot, which is one of our suppliers as well, and they sort of talk about the key things for a good HTML best practice. So one thing we've obviously ensured is that the email is responsive. HTML email is responsive for different devices. So not all customers obviously open their emails on their laptop or their PC at home. A big chunk of them will be doing it on their phones. So you need to make sure that when you're looking at that email, it works well on both small devices, large devices. And so the HTML we've done is what we call responsive, so it shrinks according to the size of the screen you're looking at. The styling, so right, if you're putting in things like images, fonts, things like that, those have to exist on the recipient's device, or it's not going to look very good. It's not going to work. Equally with images, sometimes by default, some email applications and things like that don't want to show them, so they don't show them by default, which can look a bit ugly. So making sure the styling works, and we've been obviously developed these HTML templates over a long time, sent them to different devices, making sure that they look good on these different devices and all the styling works. We don't have anything sort of specific or non-generic in them that would cause the styling to be a bit clunky. Again, how long the HTML takes to load. So if you put too much content in it, too many images, things like that, then it's going to take longer to load. Get a bad response as a result. And then end user inconsistency. So I suppose the assumption that we make is that your customer gets an invoice on an email with a PDF attachment of the invoice. You have to assume the customer's not even going to bother to open the invoice, right? So they very well may not. So you need to give them enough information, namely, what do they owe? When do they owe it by, and how do they pay? right? So you need to make sure all the information is available to them in the email itself, so they don't even have to open the invoice. They can if they want, it's there, it's a regulatory requirement, all that kind of good stuff, but you take it on the assumption that they won't even bother. So I think from if we're talking about specific utility good practice, utility company or energy company good practice, assume the customer won't even bother opening the attachment. Same, you can see the same with welcome letters, treatment notices, all the other things, right? So just assume the customer's not going to be sending them, opening the attachments. The other thing is these pay now links. So you'll notice in our templates here, if I go and look at our invoice one again, so we've got something here called a pay now button, yes, no, right? And anything that's basically asking the customer to pay, and that might be a obviously an invoice, a reminder notice, things like that. So welcome letters, perhaps not so much, but anything where it's about getting paid, it's a very good idea to have a pay now button. So we have payment channels, Easy Debit, Stripe, others that payment now link can go through to. You may have your own pay now sort of sites or facilities available, but it's definitely a good idea to have that pay now button in your email because a very high proportion and percentage of customers click on that link to pay now, and you don't want to put any hindrance in them actually doing that. And the other bit is just around the types, the types of correspondence you want to do. So again, if I come back to here, we've got a whole, here we go. So there's a whole bunch of different types of correspondence you get out of the box. So it's up to you which ones you want turned on, I suppose, or which ones you want to use automatically. So you can send them all manually at any point if you want to, but what do you want to send? So typically direct debit confirmations, they are normally depending on your provider, but normally a legal requirement to give the customer a confirmation of what they've just signed up for. Particularly with our Easy Debit ones, we know that is a regulatory requirement to actually send them a confirmation. Same with direct debit dishonored notices. So again, you'll get dishonored payment through from direct debit from time to time. It's a good idea to give the customer a notice if that event has happened, because then that'll prompt and give them again that pay now link, so they have the opportunity to pay. All your treatment notices, so a very generic flow. You want to automate all this. Is send a reminder, send a disconnection notice, a final disconnection notice, cut them off at a real generic level. And we've got a whole bunch of templates sitting in here. They've all been reviewed by the team at Compliance Quarter, which is a company that we sort of work quite closely with, and they have audited them and verified them as being compliant in the Australian market. So they tick all the right boxes around giving customers, a date to pay by, the amount due, hardship and complaint options, all that sort of stuff. So it's all available in those letters. The other ones, obviously, there's a few My Account notices, which are generated automatically from the My Account in a couple of events. We have some payment plan notices that we can automatically trigger if you're doing a lot of payment plans. So you may very well deal with payment plans manually, and that's fine. If you're getting a bit of volume around them, you probably want to turn these automated notices on so the system just ticks away and sends out the right notices. And the last one here is welcome packs. Right, so welcome packs are obviously, again, a regulatory requirement often to send them out to confirm the terms that the customer's just signed up for. Right, so those are just an example of a few letters there. The other thing I just wanted to mention, just talking through this, is our email statuses. So what you'll notice is we have this thing called new and undelivered email messages, and this is, some of our customers choose to automatically send notices or any email. So they just say, look, if the system generates an email, just let it go, right? Some of our customers say, we want to be the gatekeeper for any emails or SMS that go out of the system. So they have it set to what we call manual mode. So they're reviewing or they're approving any emails that leave the system. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just some customers do it one of the two ways. One of the things here is these email statuses, right? So, obviously they sit here as new, and then you want them to go to, delivered, opened, or clicked, which are the sort of success statuses. And from time to time, you get these ones that say dropped, bounced, etc. So if we have a look again in our help, we have a bit of information around what these sort of things means, but the success statuses are delivered, which means the customer's delivered it. It's been delivered to the customer. Opened means the customer's actually clicked on it and opened the email, and we can tell that, or SendGrid tells us that actually, for any of the main mail providers. So if you're on Gmail, Hotmail, all the big ones, any Microsoft ones, we're getting that open notification to say the customer's opened it. If there's some small private mail servers, like small company ones and things like that, we may not get the open notification, but open means the customer's opened it, and the last one is a click. So again, if you've put a Pay Now link in your email and the customer's clicked on that Pay Now link, you get a click notification. So we see these three statuses as open, delivered, and clicked as your success ones. Now, we had a look around before this webinar, and we've got customers, across our spectrum of clients. We have them anywhere between somewhere around 90% up to 100% delivery rates. So that is the percentage of emails that are going to one of those three statuses. The average, and we should probably be, have a look at your, email success rates, is 97.8. So we've got 97.8 delivery rates across all our customers, and you should just have a look and see where you're at. These ones here are your failed ones. Error, drops, bounced. Obviously the most common one is probably the email address is wrong, but you also get ones where the mailbox was full temporarily, things like that as well, or the mail provider is down at their end for some reason, or there's those sort of things, right? So those are the failed ones that have a small percentage. You can sort of do this analytics and go, well, how are my emails tracking? Right, so in your reports option here, you've got audit email report. So you can go and run this for a specific date range up to 100 days, and you can get a grasp of all the emails you've sent and the statuses that they've gone to. So that gives you can do a bit of analysis and say, well, what is my delivery rate looking like? And as I say, we've got anywhere from 90% to 100%, and the average is around nearly 98% sort of delivery rate. All right, and the last bit here is around actually sending emails to customers. Right, so this might be a bit of a recap for some of you, and you might already know all this, but if I go to a certain customer, right, firstly, on my left-hand menu bar, I've got the options to, under my accounts receivable transaction list, I can resend an invoice. So if a customer says to you, hey, look, can you resend me that invoice from last month, or even an older one than that, you've got something here called resend invoice. You say, well, what invoice? And you can multi-select. So I'm going to say, well, they want all these 4 invoices. What email address? So that's the email address we've got on file for them, and you go finish. All right, simple as that. So that's resending an invoice. If a customer wants it resent to them, it may have been previously posted or emailed, but as long as we've got an email address in there, you can email it to them. The other thing you can do here is under email messages is you can send them an email message, an individual email message. So if I click on, again, this is under notifications, email messages, I click on send resend. Right, and I can send them a new letter. I can resend something previously sent, or I can write a new email. So if we start with sending them a new letter, right? And this could be in the case of, say, payment plans would probably be a good example. Let's say you haven't set up the automated payment plan process. So what you want to do is you just want to deal with it on an ad hoc basis, right? So in here, we can select the mail merge template we want to use. Then it'll be a payment plan confirmation and go finish. And that will send that template to the customer in their desired email preference, right? The next one here is it's resending a previously sent email. So this will give you a list of all the things that this customer has previously been sent, and you can resend it, right? So again, I can click on one resend. So that's simple enough. And the last one is writing a new email. So this is just a free text email. So I can say subject, hi there, thanks for getting in touch. Whatever. So when this one goes, it goes on your free form email template. And again, if we go back to our templates, you might say, look, I want to tweak or edit what that looks like. So if I go back into my templates, if I type in something like free, things are gone. Bulk mail merge, here we go. Yep, so this is your generic email that would be sent. So whatever you type in that text is going to replace here. So it's going to send here. It's going to say, hello, John, or Homer in that case. This is your account number. This is what you've just written. And it's a way of sending a nice professional free form email to the customer. Okay, so that's from there. So those are the options for manually sending emails to customers. You've also got the option of SMSing. So most customers have got SMS on, maybe not all. So if you want it on, you just need a radio support ticket. We can turn it on. But you just go send an SMS. It's a lot simpler because we've got a whole bunch of templates. So we can say, look, that's the template there. Next, that's the number we want it to go to. Finish. That's it. And you can obviously change the text a bit here as you want as well. So that's just sending an SMS, a lot simpler than an email. And the last bit here that I wanted to cover off is just bulk sending, right? So if you come back into this maintenance screen, letters, emails, and SMS, right, you'll see another option here called bulk send. That's existing. That's available in the current screen as well. So nothing's really changed in this regard. It's just how you bulk send. So again, if I click on bulk send, I can bulk send an email, an SMS, merge template. So if I start with an email, right, it's basically saying, well, what buildings, it's a building-based thing. So what buildings do I want to send it to? And again, I can multi-select. So I can say, well, it's those 3 buildings. Do I want to send it to life support customers only? And this is particularly for when you got planned outages, right? So you might want to say, well, I'm only going to send to the life support customers. In this case, no. I can just put a planned outage, write whatever text I want. Now this is the bit here that trips a few people up from time to time, but if you want an attachment to go, right, you need to put it in your attachments folder, right? So if we go and look at our OneDrive or Google Drive, under templates, we've got something called attachments. So you need that attachment sitting here as a PDF document. And then, so if I had one here, so if I wanted to attach this, for example, I just put this in here and it's going to attach that, put that attachment on there. So that's something that trips people up. That's all we need to do to put a PDF attachment on this. So it could be a planned outage notice, and that could be the actual outage notice from the distribution network, for example, if that's what you want to send them. You can go 1 per customer, yes or no. So if customers have got power and hot water or multiple sites or whatever in the building, you don't want to spam them too much. You can say, look, just send 1 email per customer. Save, right? And that will put it in your email queue, as I mentioned before. If you've got automated sending on, they're going to go straight out the door. If you have manual sending on, they are going to sit there for you to approve. Right, so that's the sending of emails, and then SMS. Again, SMS generally a lot simpler because you just say, well, again, what buildings do I want to send it to? These 3 here, life support only, yes. In this case, I'll say yes, and you just type in your text. Make sure you don't do any spelling mistakes and things like that, and that will go out to the customers. And the last bit here is our merge templates. So this is where you can use one of your templates to actually have a merged PDF attachment. All right, so again, the same principle. You say, what buildings do I want to send it to? What delivery methods, email, post, or both? So there will be some customers, obviously, if their delivery preference is email, they will get the email. If their delivery preference is post, they will just have a PDF sitting there ready to post. But you say, what is your subject? I got caps lock on. You'd write some text here, and again, you'd say, well, what is the template I want to be using? So again, from your attachments, from your templates folder, same with the attachments, 1 per customer, the same, and save. So that is how you do a merge template, and that is for a template that gets turned into a PDF and attached to it, right? And this is most often or most useful for price changes. Is probably where it's most useful. Some customers do price change notices just as a message on their bill for the next bill. Some of them do a separate price change notice, and this is probably where this is most commonly used. So that is the sort of the scope of what I wanted to cover off. Again, there's help documentation around the bulk sending. So again, we'll send these links out, but if you go bulk send email messages, there's some help documentation around that as well. So it's all covered off there. So I suppose, yes, I've covered everything that I was planning on covering there. Is there, have we got any questions from anyone? Sorry, and we did have one question from a user before this session, which is actually around customer newsletters, which is something that we haven't actually had requested before. But what we took the liberty of doing is Tracy went and did a newsletter template for us. So you'll see here there's now a newsletter template sitting in our demonstration environment here. So if I go and try and edit that, so newsletter template, if I go, I'm not going to edit it, I just want to preview this thing. So that's what it's looking like. Next, preview, here we go. Oh, so it's just this one here at the moment, but yeah, we can turn that into a newsletter, and then you'd use the bulk send function to send that just like you would with a planned outage notice, for example. So yeah, we can add a newsletter template in there, no problem. And you can edit the content here. You can put sort of marketing banners in. You could put text in if you've got a marketing company doing some of that sort of stuff. They might just give you the actual newsletter they want you to use, and you just copy and paste it into here. And that's all you'd have to do for a newsletter. Yeah, so the next question we've got is, do you have the option of sending only to residential customers or only to commercial customers in bulk send? No, we don't. So at the moment we have, you say, for this building, and you can turn life support is the toggle there. It really just depends on customer feedback. So if they wanted to be able to refine that even more, let's say residential, commercial customers, or I'm trying to think of other examples. You know, or maybe customers with hot water, for example, or whatever. So if there's more refinement needed, you just need to give us a support ticket, raise that as a suggestion. It's something we can add, but we don't have that at the moment. And will there be an option to view the bulk email messages before we send it? Yes. So again, if you've got your emailing and SMSing manually set, the principle is nothing at all leaves the system unless you've approved it. So if you've got manual approval on, as soon as you do that bulk send, it's going to queue up. Let's say there's 100 customers in the building. It's going to queue up 100 emails sitting in here. You can then check them off in here and send them. If you want to, actually see the end result, you can just queue one up to yourself. So what a lot of our customers do is they might have one test customer sitting in their system with their own email address, and the purpose of that is that they can then quickly send that one email to themselves, 100% check it, yep, that's all good, and then send to all the customers. So some of our customers do have that single test customer in the system for that purpose. And is the bulk merging working via post with Bing? Yep. So some of our customers use let me start again. If you do a bulk send, let's say it's 100 customers, you have half on email preference, half on post preference. So the 50 emails will appear in here, and the other 50 ones for post will appear in here. If you might be printing and posting manually inside your office. So you can select them, go print PDF, and then you mark them as printed, right? So that's if you are printing them internally. If you're using one of our partners called BingMail, who basically take care of the printing and posting side of things for you, they will appear in here. Was the question, and then you just go send to Bing, and they're gone, right? So the answer is yes, they'll appear in either email or post, depending on which one. Right. Got any other questions from anyone? No. Yeah, so again, we'll be making this sort of transition over to these pure HTML templates over the next couple of months. We'll let you know when we've cut you over. The end outcome for customers will be the same, in that they'll still get an email or whatever from you with all your branding and stuff. So we'll be bringing all that across. So there'll be no difference there, but we'll let you know when we're cutting you across if you're not already on it, and yeah, it gives you a chance to review anything you want to and things like that as well. So great. Thank you everyone for the questions and for your attendance. Again, we'll be sending out links, I think, to this meeting recording and those couple of URLs and help articles that I sort of mentioned during the during the webinar. So yeah, and if you do have any questions as a result, then of course our support team is always here for you and happy to answer questions. Okay, thanks a lot.